Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Kellogg's boycott begins and ripped off customers want revenge. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. Coming from the Sun, serial killer. Kellogg's fans rejoice to see cereal being sold at all-time low after CEO's controversial comments sparked brand boycott. And from Axios, Kellogg's CEO faces backlash over cereal for dinner comment. And from Fortune, greedflation caused more than half of last year's inflation surge, a study finds, as corporate profits remain at all-time highs. The CEO of Kellogg's made a big mistake, and it's not really a forgivable mistake. It really shows they're not focused on where their customers' heads are at. It's like they don't think about their customers at all. The Let Them Eat cereal boycott starts on April 1st. That's already happened, so the boycott's going as of now. It's supposed to be a 90-day boycott. We'll see how it goes. It's up to the public to decide exactly how angry they are at Kellogg's. Is Kellogg's going to respond? Is Kellogg's going to apologize? So far, we haven't heard anything like that. And the last time we saw a company make a big public relations mistake and not apologize, that was Bud Light. Is Kellogg's going to be the next Bud Light? We don't know. It just depends on how hot it gets on social media and how much people really care about it. Cereal is usually something people eat at home. You eat it with your family. You're not going out to a bar and eating cereal. So it's not like people are going to see you eating the cereal and then think anything about you necessarily, except for your own family. So there may not be as much damage to Kellogg, but Kellogg has had other boycotts before because of their harsh treatment of their employees. This goes back to 2021. Kellogg's got into a dispute with their employees and they were planning to replace them. It got really out of control. From the Washington Post, Kellogg's is pushing to replace striking workers. A Reddit anti-work mob is fighting back. Driven by anti-capitalist anger and resentment, one of the internet's biggest Great Resignation discussion boards has focused its power into a real-world labor rights campaign. This goes back 3 years. Social media has become large enough to create any kind of mainstream narrative that social media chooses to create. That's why government tries to regulate social media. But we're in a situation right now where a lot of narratives can be created on social media that can do great damage to these companies if they don't respect their customers or their employees. Let's get into some of the background on the boycott. From Axios, Kellogg's CEO faces backlash over cereal for dinner comment. Messaging that lands in a marketing spot might not get the same reception when coming out of a CEO's mouth. Kellogg's learned this the hard way after its CEO, Gary Pilnick, appeared on CNBC and encouraged cash-strapped consumers to consider eating cereal for dinner. They've been running this commercial about eating cereal for dinner since 2022. It's not the newest thing. But the commercial that they've been running talks about cereal as an option to kind of mix things up at dinner, not to save money, not because you can't afford to eat, so you should just go eat cereal. That's the main difference here. And you would think they would have some idea of how to message to their customers to let their customers know, look, hey, you can mix things up sometimes. You can have cereal for dinner. We've all had probably breakfast for lunch, maybe even breakfast for dinner before. It's normal. You can kind of do that. But you have to be very careful not to insult your customers. Kellogg's current PR crisis highlights the power of optics and the importance of empowering the right messenger with the right talking points. The key difference between their cereal for dinner ad campaign and what they've done now is in the message the ad portrays. Cereal can spice up a monotonous dinner menu. And what Pilnick said, buy our cereal if you're tight on cash and serve it for dinner. And they make this comment after having raised their prices by 17%, or 30% if you compare them to the last couple of years. And this is also becoming a big topic, greedflation. From Fortune, greedflation caused more than half of last year's inflation surge, according to a study, as corporate profits remain at all-time highs. This kind of thing happens for multiple reasons. One of the reasons are, yes, there's been massive labor inflation in the last couple of years. There's been massive price inflation in terms of input costs, so all the products that they need to buy themselves for the ingredients of the cereal and the packaging. But at the same time, they're trying to maintain a certain profit margin. So even though cereal is probably very profitable for them, if their input costs, if everything it cost them to make this cereal went up by, say, 10 or 15%, By the time they're done marking that up, it's not going to be 10 or 15%. They want to maintain their same profit margin, so they're going to mark it up at cost plus their profit margin. That could account for a 30% price increase. But in addition, branded companies are very careful to understand not what the customer is thinking. It's unbelievable they don't put any time into thinking like, what is it like to be one of my customers today? What's it like to be a parent right now, feeding a family? And how can I assist with that? How can I, at the very least, make sure I'm not insulting any parents that are struggling, as most parents are, because of this horrendous inflation we're dealing with? They don't think that way, but they do think about perception in terms of, well, what percentage of our overall grocery bill are they? We're still going to be a small percentage of people's grocery bills, even if we increase our prices. So they're very sensitive to what can we get away with in terms of pushing our product into the market. A lot of branded companies do that. You're paying a lot of money when you're paying for a branded product. And that's why they've got a lot of competition. Daily Dot had some generic brand suggestions and also some suggestions about how you can make your own versions of Kellogg's products. From the Daily Dot, Aldi's Frosted Flakes taste identical. People plan to boycott Kellogg's after a CEO told people who can't afford groceries to eat Frosted Flakes for dinner. Aldi's is a supermarket chain. You may have one near you, but every supermarket at this point has a generic version of the branded cereals. Of course, the generic versions are much cheaper and haven't had these kinds of price increases. Also from the Daily Dot, Kellogg's makes Pop-Tarts, so if you needed another reason to make these at home, now you have it. Expert shares trick to make homemade Pop-Tarts. Also, you can go to the dollar store. From Daily Dot, they are actually the original Pop-Tart. Woman shares Dollar Tree alternatives to Kellogg's branded products. And this has been a trend that's been long in coming. From Star Tribune, as shoppers balk at higher cereal prices, many switch to less expensive store brands. General Mills remains the clear market leader, but a spin-off of Kellogg has gained momentum. When choosing between Frosted Flakes and a knockoff brand, more consumers are willing to ditch Tony the Tiger and say, they're good enough. Get it? As opposed to, they're great. Store brand cereal spiked nearly 20% this year as Americans scrimped and saved by switching to cheaper options. Quote, consumers have become increasingly value-seeking and more fickle in their decisions, according to a food industry analyst at Edward Jones. By and large, the consumer remains resilient but less predictable. The big cereal makers, two of which are based in Minnesota, shouldn't be too worried, she said. Even with the recent growth, store brands accounted for just 7% of all U.S. cereal sales over the past year, according to Chicago-based market research firm Circana. Positioning name brand cereal as a solution to rising food costs is what ignited the firestorm of backlash across social media. The reality is, the only way a brand like Kellogg should comment on the rising costs of groceries is at the business level or by announcing a program or donation to help, not by having a CEO tout their marketing campaign as the solution, says marketing consultant Ali Rubino. Plus, the optics of Pilnick standing in the courtyard of a 5-star hotel while delivering the message only made matters worse. The initial comments were made on February 21st, and then a few days later, the backlash started. Since then, the brand and CEO have gone radio silent, which gave way to more social media chatter and press coverage. Users across LinkedIn have torched the comment section of Pilnick's recent posts, and those on TikTok are encouraging a boycott of the brand. The hashtag Boycott Kellogg's has been viewed roughly 23 million times on TikTok as of March 1st. And just look at what they're saying on this guy's LinkedIn, the CEO of Kellogg's. My family will never eat any of the products your company produces or owns. Cereal is one of the worst things you can eat for breakfast. Learn how to read the room when you watch your profits drop. Another user comments, a wholeheartedly greed-ridden human being who's pushing poisonous, sugar-ridden food as dinner. What a joke. You should be ashamed. How about you invest some time and money into affordable food that doesn't contribute to pediatric cancer, diabetes, and obesity? Our country is in the current state it is because of companies like Kellogg Company, and something has to give. Colin Upton says, how do you sleep at night? Mr. Kellogg's would be spinning in his grave. The plans you have for the Manchester factory are disgraceful. And to advise people to eat cereal for dinner, what planet are you on? Stephanie Dolce said, how as a rich CEO can you not show any emotional intelligence or any emotional empathy for what's going on in today's economy where millions of people have to go to food banks in order to survive? Amber Turner said, quote, eating cereal for dinner is a great trend for families under pressure. Poor choice of words in this economy. No one wants to make a choice of feeding their children a nutritionally bereft grain item for dinner because they're under pressure. I guess that's your demographic, though. Peak capitalism right here, everyone. Keep up the great marketing campaign. Capitalism is still a good thing. People abusing the system is not a good thing. Socialism, communism, most of us would be dead, okay? It's not a good system. Capitalism is the best thing we have so far. Lydia's angry and she says, Gary, are you kidding me? First of all, you're cray if you think you could, that means crazy, if you think we can afford name brand foods. Also, to say that these sugary bad-for-you cereals is a good alternative to dinner? Jennifer Bueno says, I bet Gary doesn't have to feed his children cereal when he's in a bind. Dewey Roberts comments on her comment, Gary charges his children $1 a bowl. Kellogg's typically receives neutral coverage, however, sentiment quickly soured following Pilnick's cereal for dinner comments. These comments attracted roughly 3 times more readers than Kellogg's average news readership. Most negative coverage landed on February 26th, which is also the day that readership spiked per data provided by Memo. Consumer brands continue to be scrutinized for shrinkflation practices, while the cost of cereal has increased 28% over the last 4 years, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. If Kellogg's raises prices in the future, its communications team should prepare for Pilnick's comments to bubble to the surface. So far, we haven't heard anything from Kellogg's or its PR representatives, and they've ignored repeated requests for comment from Axios. So they've decided they're going to stay as silent as possible. They don't want to feed social media. But I don't think they can control social media. What started out as a bit of PR drama has turned into a crisis due to the company's lack of response, says Paul Argenti, professor of corporate communication at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. During the 5-day window between the initial comment and the social media firestorm, Kellogg had the opportunity to acknowledge the mistake, clarify what he meant to say, and explain how this would be avoided in the future. That's accountability and taking responsibility. But people in power don't want to do that anymore. It's not just politics. It's in industry. It's famous people. It's everywhere. People don't want responsibility or accountability. Instead, the silence enabled more coverage and social chatter, which has kept the story trending almost 2 weeks later. Quote, this is a textbook example of what not to do, Argenti told Axios. Consumers across social media are calling on Kellogg's to lower its prices and have organized a boycott of the brand from April 1st to June 30th. LetThemEatCereal.info lays out some great demands if Kellogg's is paying attention. By now, yes, executives at Kellogg's has seen this website. They're not responding to it. Will they meet these demands? Perhaps they meet the demands if they see social media catch fire, blow up, and get more and more interested in this boycott. Unlike Bud Light, Kellogg's, it's really targeted at the whole company. With Bud Light, it wasn't targeted at their parent company, Anheuser-Busch. It was really targeted at the Bud Light brand. And people, of course, were so angry, they went looking what other products, what other brands does Bud Light's parent company, Anheuser-Busch, offer. This consumer boycott for Kellogg's is really pointed at the entire company. This could have a devastating effect on Kellogg's if people get really enthusiastic about it. Here are the demands for Kellogg's, and they're pretty straightforward. Lower your prices. Reduce the prices of all your products by 25% across the board. This will make your products more accessible and more affordable to a wider audience, reflecting a commitment to economic fairness. Do not take it out on your employees. We demand written assurance that your company will not only refrain from any form of retaliation against employees participating in or affected by the boycott, but will also take proactive measures to ensure the stability and security of all employees' positions during this time. Why? Why is this even brought up? Because if a company loses business, it's not uncommon for them to dump a lot of employees, to just let them go, lay them off. And then where are they supposed to go? Especially in this economy. It's good to see concern for employees. There's a limit to what can be done. Anheuser-Busch has not laid off as many employees as they're very likely to over the next few months, but how this might impact Kellogg's, there's no way to know. Should we learn of any layoffs or other adverse impacts on employees, the boycott will continue until those affected are reinstated. This condition underscores our commitment to ensuring that our actions do not negatively impact employees. And here's a big one. Remove chemical carcinogens. You would think this would have been the first priority, not like being insulted because they said, hey, eat cereal for dinner, you poor jerks. Like, that is actually bad, but this is even probably worse. It's just we don't even think about this because there's so much junk in processed food now. Remove chemical carcinogens. Carcinogens are cancer-causing ingredients. We want you to stop using harmful chemicals in your food. We demand the same quality of ingredients in your products globally as those found in the UK. where stricter regulations ensure healthier food options. This change will demonstrate your commitment to the health and well-being of consumers worldwide. This is absolutely true, and it's not very well known. In the United States, food manufacturers are allowed to add chemicals and utilize ingredients that are not allowed, like in the European Union, for example. Not allowed in the UK. They have many more chemicals and strange ingredients that they put in their products in the United States. Obviously, Kellogg's does it successfully in other countries. They don't need to be doing that here. We don't need to be consuming those things. Chemical carcinogens are actually really dangerous. This is what a carcinogen is. Carcinogens are substances that may increase your risk of cancer. I don't want to eat anything like that. You don't want to eat anything like that either. The difference between the products that they make in the United States and the products that they make in other countries are these stricter regulations on what you can do to the food and what ingredients you can put into the food. It's more expensive to make them healthy, and that's why they don't do it in the US. Maybe there's another reason. If there is, it's not a good reason, but either way, let's just say because they want to save money. The goal isn't to put the company out of business. The goal is to try to get some attention from the company, to respect the customers, and to think about the customers when you're selling them these products and you're making these products for them. And you should be thinking, like, what is it like to be a customer, a consumer, somebody who actually eats this food? The people at Kellogg's are not thinking about that. So let's try to see if we can get their attention, remind them that there are actual human beings, that each of these people are buying these products. People want to feel heard and they want to be listened to. They're still willing to give you money, Kellogg's. They just want you to respect them a little bit more and maybe even make the food healthier. No matter what, the Kellogg's boycott has begun. We will see how customers respond. We will see how Kellogg's respond. I will absolutely cover it on this channel and keep you posted. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.